Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be working on a REST API using Deno and the Express framework. And we'll be building a very simple application that will basically be managing products, and we'll have a REST API in which we can retrieve products, add new products, and things like that. So for this demo, you will need to have Deno installed on your computer. So if you're on a Mac like myself, you can simply use brew to install Deno, which I'm gonna go ahead and do right now. All right, so once Deno is installed, what you'll go ahead and do is let's make a folder which we will use for our application. So we'll call that Deno Express. And then at first, let's go ahead and create our server .js, which stands for TypeScript. And let's go ahead and open that up in Visual Studio Code and start writing up the code that will be responsible for initializing the server. Okay, so we have created our server.typescript and we opened it up here in Visual Studio Code. And the first thing that we'll do is we will need to import the Express framework. And to do that, we will use the import keyword, and we are going to import it using this URL right here. And this is specific type of Express that is specific to Deno, and that's what we will need in order for it to work. All right, so now that we have imported Express, the next thing we'll do is basically declare an asynchronous anonymous function, which our app will be running into. So here, this function will be asynchronous, and we will need to first of all declare a port for our server. So we're going to use 3000, and then we're going to also need to declare an app variable which will hold the instance of our Express API. And what we can do now is basically create a server from our app. So what we'll go ahead and do is declare a server, and we will do app.listen using the port. And lastly down here, let's do a console log and say up and running on port, and let's do server.port. And in order for us to run this, what we will need to do is we will actually need to wrap this whole thing in a function that executes itself. And what we'll go ahead and do is run that application in the console here. So in order to run it, what we'll need to do is do deno run allow net, and then allow read, and then the name of the file we want to run. And there we go. So it actually worked, and we got our console statement down here saying it is up and running on port 3000. Right now we can't really test it, but so far we can see that it is working and it is up and running. So what we'll go ahead and do is now start to write up some of the other parts to start creating the model for our product and the controllers and all that sort of things. All right, so for this application, like I mentioned, we're going to be using products as the basically what we're going to be using for our API. So we'll go ahead and create a folder called types, and within that folder we're going to create another TypeScript file that will hold the interface of our product and all of the fields that it has. So we're going to do export interface, and then we'll call it oops, nope, that's not what I meant to type. We're going to use capital first letter to basically declare that it's a model, or that it's some sort of entity. And here we'll define all the fields that the product will have. So we'll have an ID field, which will be of type string, and then we'll have a name, which will also be string, and this should actually be lowercase. And here we'll have a description of string, and that should be semicolons, not commas. And down here we'll have a price, and that will be a number. And that's pretty much it for our types. So basically we have defined how the product entity or the model should work, and what are the fields that it will have. So now what we're gonna do is gonna move on to writing up a controller, which we can invoke from our server here based on the routes. So we can add routes and kind of take it from there one step at a time. All right, so in this next step, we're going to be creating a folder called controllers, and then within controllers, we will be creating a new TypeScript file called products.ts. And what this file will do is it's going to basically define all the functions that are going to respond to whatever endpoint we go to with the API. So first of all, what we're going to be using is the product model that we have just declared, or the entity, and that is declared in types.ts. And then we're going to also need a product variable, which will be of type product, and that will it's going to be of type an array of product, my bad. And basically this will be an array that will hold all of our initial products that we will begin with. So here I'm gonna quickly add in some sample products in which we can use to sample our get and post requests and things like that. So for this application, we're not using any database to store and retrieve data. We're just storing all of our data in memory in this products array. So let me go ahead and drop some sample data, and we'll take it from there. All right, so I have went ahead and defined some sample data for us to use here. And basically the next thing that we will need to do is define one of the simplest functions. So in a REST API, we're going to have a couple of different routes. We'll need, first of all, a get request that will get or retrieve all of the products we have. And this will look something like API/products. And let's go ahead and actually define that function. So we'll do const get products, and this will be an asynchronous function, and it will accept a request and a response. And here what we will do is we'll basically send back the products as a JSON output and on the response. So here we'll have actually a JSON, and we'll set error to false, and data will have that equal to products. And this is the array we declared up here. So let's go ahead and save that. And down here at the bottom of the file, we'll need to actually export these functions. So since we're going to be writing more functions, I'm going to add this one, but we'll obviously be adding more as we write more functions in this file. So let's actually move on to the server file now, so we can add the routes and map this /API/products to this function, so we can actually start testing it and get some output. Okay, so I'm back in the server.ts file, and here what I'm going to do is actually first of all import the function we just wrote. So here let me do use the import get products, and then we'll use from /controllers and then products.ts. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go ahead and do app.get /API/products, and for that route we want to map it to the get products function. And one thing we should add before this line is we should use body parser. So let me go ahead and use the handy built-in body parser that's in Expressive, and we'll just do .json. So that should be good. So let's actually go ahead and turn off our server and restart it again. Okay, and it looks like we are up and running on port 3000. If we bring up Postman here and do localhost 3000 API products and do a GET request, you'll see that we get pretty much the data that we had in there. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see, and you'll see we get the error and then the data, which is the array that has the 3 values we have. All right, so now you can start to see where we're going with this. So we're gonna also have another route in which we can get products by their ID. So in order to add a dynamic variable in the route, we use the curly braces like that, and I'm not gonna map it to well, actually I can basically do get product even though it's not declared yet, but that's the name of the function we will have. So let's go ahead and actually go back to our controllers and write this out. Okay, so here this will be a GET request, and the API route for that will be API/products/ID. So we said we're going to call it get product, and this is also going to be an asynchronous function. Request and response. And basically, what we will need to do in this function is find the product. So we'll need to declare a variable called product, which will be of type product or undefined, and that's gonna be equal to the result of our find function, in which we will go iterate through every product and find the ones find the one that has the same ID as the one in the parameter. So what this function will do is it will iterate through each one of our products up here, and it will match it or return the product that has the same ID as the one in the parameter which we supply over here. Now we can do if product. This will basically mean we found the product. We will simply return it back. So we'll have an error of false, and then data will equal to product. So I just saved it so it formatted the code for me. And then we'll also need an else condition here. And here we'll need to do a couple of things. The first one is response status should be 404, which means we didn't find the product. And then we will return back a JSON output that has an error of true, and the message will be no product was found. So that's pretty much it for our get product function. We'll need to go ahead and export it down here, as well as import it up here. So now everything should be routed up correctly. What we'll need to do is stop our server, run it again, and here in Postman, let me open a new tab. So this is pretty much all the products we have. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the product with the ID of 2. So we'll do localhost 3000/API/products, and then we'll do /2, and this should return us this product right here. So let's try it. Okay, and we get an error. And why is that? Let's take a look. Ooh, and we actually got an error in our console too. So, oh, it seems like I forgot to save it, so that's fine. All right, so let's restart the application. And okay, we got our up and running, so we should be good. All right, so now let's try it again. And there we go. I get error false, and then I get my data, which is pretty much that product that we have here. Now let's try to use a number that doesn't exist. Okay, so we get the correct output. We have a status of 404 not found, error is true, and then the message is no product was found. So we get the proper response, and everything is good. So this is working as it should. So let's go back to the code, and let's see what other routes we need to define. So another route that we will need to define is app.delete, and this will be API products /ID, and this will call a function called delete product. So let's go ahead and implement the delete function. What this will do is it will basically delete any product that comes in with that ID. So let me go ahead and save it, and then here this will be delete, and we will be going to this endpoint. So const delete product, and this will be an asynchronous function. And all right, and here, first of all, we'll need to extract the ID param, and we can do request.params.id, and then down here we will do products. We will reassign our products to this find function, which we will define here to remove or not remove, but basically it will return a filtered array that does not contain the product with that ID that we supply. So this is why we took ID param here, so we can pretty much iterate through our products and return it, except if it doesn't equal to the ID param. That's when we filter it out. And down here, response.json, we'll have error.false and message product deleted. And lastly, we will return the products, the updated array of products. Now, you don't really need to return it, and probably you shouldn't return it, but for the sake of this demo, we need to return it. So back in our server file, we need to declare the function we defined. Let's go ahead and save it. And it just formatted the code for me there. And if we open up Postman, we can do another route. And let's remove product number 3 and make sure that you choose a delete request. And before we do that, let me actually restart my server. And okay, we have an issue. Okay, so it looks like I used here find instead of filter, and that was what was causing the error. So that was my mistake there. Let's go ahead and run the application again, and that should now work. So let's go ahead and remove product number 3. And okay, so it's deleted, and we get the result array of product 1 and 2. And if we actually query products here again, we can see that it is indeed updated. So let's go back to the server file, and we'll need to do a post request in which we can actually add products. So this is the request we can use to add a new product, and we will create a new function here called this will be of type post, and the endpoint for that will be /API/products, and this will be an asynchronous function that will take a request and the response. Here in our function, first we will need to check if the request has any data. Check if request has data, and so let's do that. So if the request does not have any data, we should immediately return an error. So we'll do response.status equal 400, and then we'll return a JSON output which will have error equal to true, and message will be no data supplied. So now if we actually have some data on the request, this is where we need to do the work of adding the product. And it looks like there's an error here in the arrow function. Okay, now it should be good. All right, so here in the else condition, we will need to create a new product that will be of type product, and basically it will contain all of the values from the request data. And here we will actually need to give it an ID. And for the sake of this tutorial, what we can do is do math.random. And what this will do is it will generate a random number between 0 and 1. And I think that should be good enough for this tutorial. Obviously, in a production application, you would probably need a UUID generator of some kind. And once we have an ID, we will push this product into our products array and then return back a JSON saying that everything is good. So we will return a response with the new product that was created and basically, telling the user that everything is well. So let's go ahead and restart the server and test this out in Postman. Now, one thing I forgot to do is export the add product down here. So I was getting an error for that here. Let's go ahead and run it. And it looks like I forgot to add it here as well. So now it should be able to run. And we're getting another error. So math.random generates floating point value and it's not a string. So we can simply call the toString method on that. So that should be good. Okay, so let's actually test this out in Postman. Okay, if we make a new request here for our URL endpoint and we make this a post request, we can come here in the body and let's choose JSON, and here we can specify all the attributes we want to add for the product. So we have name, we'll say test product, and then here we'll have a description, and this will be just some random string, and then lastly we'll have price, and we'll set this to 90. So let's go ahead and send that request, and it looks like it worked, and it gave it an ID of 0.15 blah blah blah. So it's a long decimal. And if we actually send a GET request to see the products, we see the product that was just added down here. So it was successfully added. Okay, so this is for the post request. So the last thing we need to add is for updating the products, and this will be a put request, and the endpoint for that will be products/id, and then we'll have a function called update product. So we will put that over here, and then let's actually declare this. So this will be a put, and the endpoint for that will be products ID, like so. This will be an asynchronous function, same thing, just like the rest of them. Request and response. And here we'll need to extract a few different things. So the first one is the ID param, which will be the request params.id. This is the ID of the product we want to update. And then we will need the data, which will be the request body basically, but it's called data. And then we'll also need product, which will be of type product of undefined, either product or undefined, and here we will basically just do a find so we can find the product we want to update. And here we will need an if statement to see if we do find the product. We'll need to remove it. And if we don't find the product, we will need to return a 404 error. So here we'll have a status of 400, response.json. We'll say error is true, and message will be product not found. Okay, so this is for if we don't find the product. Now, if we do find the product, first we'll need to construct a variable that will have the updated data, and this will just be an object. It will have a name of string and a description of string, and this is all optional, so it could be supplied or not. And then all of that will equal to data. Now down here, we will update our products array by mapping over it and simply updating the product that has the ID equal to ID param. If that's the case, we will have it equal to the new product data. If it's not, it will equal the same product, but if it is, we will need to actually supply it the data we will need to update it with, which we'll use the spread operator for that. So we're copying from the old data, the old product data, and we will apply the updated data, which we defined here. So what this will do, it looks kind of fancy, but basically what it will do is it will map over the products. And basically, if the product ID is equal to ID param, which is the product we said we want to update, if it does, we will take that product data, all the attributes of it, and we will update it by the attributes that we used in updated data, which is right here. And this contains all of the new information from our data variable, which has the request data, and that is the values that we want to update the product with. So if you're a little bit confused, just hang on, and I think you will get a better idea of how this works once you see it in action. So basically, after this line, we have pretty much updated our products array. So we just want to send back a response saying that everything has been updated. So we'll do error is false, and then data will be equal our updated list of products. So I just saved and it formatted the code for me here. And this pretty much concludes our update product function. So down here, we will need to export it. And here we will need to import it. Oh, and actually we did it before, so we don't have to do it again. And it's already put in the route over here, so that should be good. So let's go ahead and restart our server and test it out in Postman. Okay, so we get it 3000. So let's update Postman and try it out. Okay, so if we do a quick run, we see we have our 3 products. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and create a new request of type post, and then it's gonna update the product with the ID 3. It's gonna be this one, and basically let me copy this over here to make it a bit shorter. And I don't need the ID since it's supplied in the endpoint. And basically in the name here, I'm gonna have prod3, and in the description, we can just say updated description. And in the price, we can just put $10. Now let's go ahead and send that and see what happens. Okay, so we got 200. Okay, it's odd that we didn't get a response, but let's actually query our products and see what happens. Okay, so it doesn't look like the change was made. So, oh, and actually that is because it's a post, it's not a put. So that's my bad, it should be a put. Okay, bad request. So why is that? So it's saying there's an unexpected token in the JSON. So let me take a look at this and seeing what the problem is, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the issue was actually that the price had to be wrapped in strings, and it actually updated the product. So I just sent the request, and if we do another query here, we see that the product has been updated, and it pretty much works. So now we have full CRUD operations. We can query or retrieve our products, we can update a product, we can delete, and we can also add a new product. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful, and it kind of gave you an insight on how Deno works, as well as the expressive framework. It's fairly simple, it's fairly straightforward, and I wanted to put together this tutorial to kind of get you guys, give you an idea of how Deno sort of works, and how TypeScript integrates with that. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials. And let me know if you have any ideas for video tutorials you would like me to make, and I'll be reviewing all of your comments and suggestions. So without further ado, I appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to subscribe, like I said, and thanks for watching.